before we get into it, though, let's talk a little bit about The Big Boss, because I'm going to be honest. The first time I saw The Big Boss, way back in the day, I was a lot thinner, younger. It wasn't so great. Back in the day, I had the old like Fox VHS collection.
Yeah. Yes.
I may still actually have that somewhere.
Yeah.
And that was my introduction, besides watching, Bruce Lee movies on TV. And I really enjoyed The Big Boss. I always found it entertaining. I always liked it, but for some strange reason, it was like my least watched movie out of all four. And what's crazy is over the years, I've been watching Big Boss more, especially recently now. Like I rewatched it before I watched your documentary, and I'm like, I love this movie now. Like I love, like I always appreciate it more and more and more I watch it. But now I can officially say I love this movie now, and I'm gonna say it. It may be controversial. I don't give a fuck. It's my channel.
Yeah.
Oh, you can curse, by the way, Matt. You can have fun here. All right. I'm gonna say it. I feel everyone loves Bruce Lee. Everyone loves this movie, but I feel this movie is the most underrated Bruce Lee movie. I said it right here.
Yeah, it's extremely underrated. Well, Brandon Bentley will agree with you because we've talked a few times, and he loves The Big Boss. It's his favorite film of all the Bruce Lee
Shout
films.
out to Brendan.
Absolutely. For me, I totally agree with you. It grows on you, that film. It's the others have an immediate impact because there's so many fight scenes. Fist of Fury is just non-stop fighting all the way through. Enter the Dragon, very strong on fight scenes. Same as Way of the Dragon. But Big Boss only starts fighting halfway through the film. So it doesn't pack as many fights into the film as the other movies. But yeah, there's something about it. There's a natural raw energy about the film. I can't quite place it, but everyone loves it just as much as the other ones, I'm sure. And I totally agree with what you say. I found myself watching it much more the more
Game
the years go on.
Because Game of Death, for good and bad reasons, Game of Death gets talked about more. They have the iconic tracksuit. There's fans for Game of Death, and there's people that are like for Game of Death, but people don't talk about Big Boss that much. Big Boss is fucking phenomenal. That's right. You can quote me on that, Matt.
Yeah.
The next poster. I'm sure that'll. Yeah. I'm sure that'll go over well with everyone. Yeah. But
it'll get people to watch
phenomenal. It. Hey, steal the quote. I don't care. Use it. But yeah, it is. I love this movie now, especially later. You even get a little bit of the horror element in there. With what happens to the family. They even killed the kid. They didn't even give a fuck. They killed the kid, and Bruce Lee's acting there. The horror, right? And they chopped up his family members' bodies and put it in ice. That whole sequence with the red light and Bruce Lee fighting for his characters, fighting for his life, and that, dude, you don't really get that kind of sense of danger in Bruce Lee's other movies, really.
No,
so
and
good.
also it's great, and also the way the character goes through the film, because obviously it starts and everything's all happy. There's no problems. He's introduced to this new village, new friends, new workplace, and then everything just starts going horribly wrong. The foreman picks on him. He manages to stay friends with all his co-workers. Then the co-workers turn against him because the way they don't feel he's doing enough to find the friends that they lost, and forgetting about them. So it's got so many pivot points in the film, and really good ones that intrigue the viewer and keep you watching. Of course, it's got the Bruce Lee trademark amazing fight scenes, but it's got obviously so much more to it as well. You do feel very connected.
Again, me and Matt were discussing this the other day. I think the villain in this movie is one of the most underrated villains in Kung Fu movies, man. I mean, this guy, he was so arrogant, that smile. When his women, were his ladies of the night, were not doing what he wanted, he would just spit his little cigarette ash on them, and then I
Yeah.
mean, carrying around that bird. I mean,
Yeah.
just he was like one of the best he's a very underrated villain. And I
Yeah.
love their fight at the end, and we're gonna get to their fight at the end a little bit more, but I love their fight at the
Yes.
end because he pulled out the daggers, because the best
Mm.
villains gotta cheat. They
Yeah.
gotta cheat
Yeah.
somehow, but
Always.
I
Yeah.
love this guy, man. He's great. He's
Yeah,
great.
it was fantastic because he doesn't look like what you would expect to be, a physically imposing villain because you see
Mhm.
him with the glasses and
Yeah.
he looks like more like, not someone who's like a physical athlete, but they show him doing his fights and he looks good in the fights. And like you say, just a horrible character, the way he keeps the facial expressions on his face.
Yeah.
And you've remembered it from all these years, and he's great for the movie. I
Oh,
think he's a
yeah.
he's a great villain.
But, yeah, I love this fight
Mm.
because you got a
Yeah,
character you hate versus a
yeah,
character you've grown to love over the course of the
yes,
film,
yeah,
and I
yeah,
love the fight not just because it's a great fight, but I love
hmm
the fight because you can see it right here. You could see it
yeah,
unfold, kinda almost
yeah,
the passing of the guard or the
yes,
passing of the torch with,
yeah,
old school traditional fight
yeah,
choreography
yeah,
evolving with the new
yes,
school right there, guys, in the same
mm,
fight. And
mm,
it's an
mm.
amazing fight, old school versus new school, but it
It
works.
is, and
And
it
you could see
works.
the
Yeah,
evolution. You could see it right there. I don't think a lot of people, when they talk about this fight, I don't think
mm.
they mention that.
No, no,
But you
and it was a
see it right
pivotal
there.
year. It was a pivotal year because it was 1971. A lot of the films preceding that were Shaw Brothers movies from the 60s, such as One Armed Swordsman,
Yeah.
you know, and I think Bruce was introducing this new style. And like you said, you make a very valid point that it was like almost like a fusion of the two styles, and it was almost like something new was coming out, something new was coming through, and that was
Yeah.
Bruce Lee. And from the years after Bruce Lee, you've got Sammo changing things because I think some of Sammo's movies were fast paced
Amazing.
action, such as
Oh,
in
yeah.
obviously in Warriors 2, Prodigal Son. So you could see how it evolved from
Yeah.
the 60s era to the
Yeah.
70s Bruce Lee to obviously Sammo and Jackie, with the faster paced fight scenes and the crazy stunts of the 80s. It's very interesting to see how kung fu movies have evolved.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
fascinating, fun,
Mm.
and it's just endless
Yeah,
entertainment. That's why the 80s, the golden era,
it
but the
is.
70s,
Oh,
there's so much good stuff in the 70s too. Do you want to hear more? Click on one of the links above or check the link in the description box to watch the full video and subscribe.